everyone is looking forward to 2025 and what it means for different players across the global economy. We are focusing on SMEs, small, medium enterprises, and what they can expect as far as the different trends that are going to be happening over the course of the full year, geopolitical concerns and the likes. Joining us to discuss, we're very happy to have Bolaji Sofoluwe, who is the co-founder and managing director of the ETK Group, and brand new 2025 MBE. Congratulations to you. Good morning.
Thank you, and good morning, Roger.
For those that don't know, can you just start up with that? What is the MBE? Explain how, what it means, and congratulations.
Thank you. So the MBE Award is a member of the Order of the British Empire. Essentially, it is given to members of the public, civilians, who have distinguished themselves in various areas. It could be charity work, business, an enterprise. It could be anything, sports.
Yeah.
So it essentially, the king then honors them with this award. So
congratulations.
So, yeah.
Well deserved. You've been doing a lot of work across the globe. Thank you. So well done on that, and thanks for joining us once more. So we've got a list here with respect to the 7 trends to, I guess, that folks are talking about to expect for SMEs. I know you are very much into trade in the UK across with different trading partners, of which Nigeria is one of them. So I think one of the first items on the list is with respect to SMEs and that they will drive innovation. So kicking off with that, do you believe that trend is actually accurate, that SMEs are what are going to drive innovation in 2025?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that the whole business community is quite aware of and quite conscious of. The fact that innovation starts from SME, because there's that flexibility and there's, the ability to think out of the box, This is what you can't find in a corporate sort of space where there's several, red tapes before things can come through the ranks. But with SMEs, you have leaders, entrepreneurs who can think, who can innovate, who can do things quite quickly. And so I really do believe that innovation is going to come from that space in the next few years. And when you think about it, obviously in all countries that the figure for employment within the SME space is just over 80%, 84% in Nigeria, 99.9% in the US and the UK.
Wow.
So you can imagine that they're the engine of growth, for driving driving growth in every single country. But innovation, of course, is the center of that.
Fantastic. Now, this list, I think we got it from Forbes or so. It was kind of US centric, but still, I think it could possibly apply to elsewhere. They're saying the second item or second trend is that entrepreneurship is not going to be viewed as a risky journey. I don't know. I have a little trouble with that. What do you think about that? Is that accurate? Isn't there still a lot of risk with entrepreneurship?
Well, I think for most people now it's sink or swim.
Right.
People are thinking, look, we've done all the right things, particularly people who've lost money, particularly from pension funds and all those other so-called solid and safe investment routes. So they're thinking, right, I need to take control of my own destiny. And so it's actually taking away that veil of risk from entrepreneurship. People are beginning to think, I can do this. If the next person can, so can I. And when you talk about risk, essentially what you're thinking about is a company's ability to identify, mitigate, and manage it. And so entrepreneurs are beginning to become more savvy and more alert to how they can do that. And so it's becoming less risky every day. And
are you in the camp that calls SMEs in Nigeria superheroes because of the risk that they face compared to other
100%.
nations?
Look, 100%. Even when I'm here for a very short period of time, I can see how they have to think on their feet all the time, how they have to be proactive, how they have to come up with solutions very quickly, how they have to adapt and adopt whenever there are situations that come in their way. We looked at a nosedive of our currency recently, but some SMEs are still standing. And that's kind of what we observed as soon as I came into the country just this time. The fact that there's still some really well-known SME brands that are standing and are doing well, even in spite of the very challenging headwinds.
In fact, the This Day Awards coming up, there is a Brand of the Year, Innovator of the Year, so we'll see which SMEs win those awards. Third on the list, I think this is one of the pillars upon which you got your MBA. The trends is that there are going to be more female SMEs in 2025. So please take it away. I know you got stuff to say about that. You've supported a lot of female SMEs, advised them. So they're saying rapid growth for female SMEs.
Extremely exciting.
Yeah.
I think you're seeing a number of commitments from large funds, smaller funds, VCs, etc., to investing in SME, female-led SMEs.
Yeah.
Of course, angel investors like myself have been banking on SMEs since the early noughties, and we know that when we invest in female-led SMEs, our money is safer. And generally speaking, you always get a return, no matter how small. They manage your expectations properly. They don't overpromise. Instead they sort of underpromise and overdeliver.
Right.
So a lot of us have already known that this was a mine, an amazing gold mine for investors. And I'm really excited to see people like the British Business Bank partnering with the Department for Business and Trade, creating an investment in women code, which is a commitment to investing in women.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've seen investments in SMEs decline ever so slightly recently, 2023, 24.
Yeah.
In the US, we saw about $56 billion worth of investment in SMEs. That actually was a number that was quite higher previously.
Yeah.
But what I'm beginning to think now these days is that, because there's this furore around, women investment and the gaps that exist there, you're beginning to see people actually take a look at it and come up with realistic and pragmatic solutions to closing this funding gap. So I'm extremely excited.
Yeah.
I've been advocating for this for years. I had a whole event at the House of Lords last International Women's Day with all my female investors that I know, and we started talking about ways that we can be more proactive.
Hey, bless your heart for that, and bless all your efforts. It's I totally agree, and the numbers show women-led SMEs also pay off their debts more.
They do.
Compared to male-led. The next one, this next one on the trending list says that we might see more SMEs selling their business. I want to get your thought. Is that they're going to be more successful and will exit early? What did you make of that particular trend point, that there will be more owners who could be selling off their businesses?
So I would like to see this more as a consolidation of efforts.
Okay.
I think there's been a lot of fragmentation in certain sectors recently, and so what you're finding is a boom and bust scenario. But what you're beginning to see is that companies are looking for more longevity, investors are looking for more longevity in the businesses that they're investing in. And SMEs themselves are recognizing the fact that they're stronger together. And so what you're seeing is a coming together, a meeting of minds, and a consolidation of efforts. And if you're finding sales are always better than shutdowns, right? So, and every entrepreneur's dream is to exit. So that's what I think is going to happen going forward.
Hey, you're the expert, so I'm going to go with your view on this. Okay, now we're going a little into the more risky areas now. They also in the trend, they also talked about government policies and how government policies will impact SMEs. So, there's so much happening in terms of government. The government has been making the news everywhere: Nigeria, the UK, the US, Asia. So, what's your view on government policies and how?
Well, I think
without mentioning any governments by name.
Any specific governments. Well, we're going to see a bit of a rumbling and a shaking at the beginning. We have a new administration coming into the US. There's been talks about tariff increases across the board. Even with so-called friendly nations.
Yes.
And obviously that is sending a few shockwaves around. But I think that things will actually stabilize. I mean, thankfully we're seeing there was a ceasefire deal agreed, but we're seeing this morning we saw that there was some issues with that. But we're hoping for a little bit more stability in the Middle East, which might actually help with stabilizing global trade. However, you're still seeing the Trans-Pacific trade is what is in jeopardy because of the tariffs. Up to 60% is being promised for China.
Right.
If that happens, that's going to cause tremendous shocks in supply chains. So we're going to need a lot of monetary policy support from governments where they are creating strategies to support economic activity in the face of all this volatility.
Well, you know what? You've kind of already answered the next, because the next one is on the volatility, or rather a volatile outlook for for global trade, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, of course, of Nigeria, heads the WTO. So, are you cautiously optimistic on what the outlook is for global trade, based on what you've already said, just now?
I am cautiously optimistic,
yeah.
and it's actually quite regional specific at the moment.
Okay.
So, global trade in itself, when you talk about economic growth around the globe,
yeah.
we're looking at 2.8% growth in 2025. However, when you look at Southeast Asia, they're looking at around 6.6% projected, And so, as you can see, it's going to be quite regional specific right now. So I think what we're going to see is a little bit more protectionism, where there's going to be trade within regions, not necessarily just within a specific country creating protectionist policies. You might see that maybe Southeast Asia is going to think about their trading partners a little bit more deeply.
Gotcha.
Obviously, we've already seen that in Africa, consolidation through the AFCFTA. We might see a little bit more cross-border trade in Africa going forward as all of those, various protocols are ratified with the AFCFTA. And you start to actually see more regional, robust changes that might occur.
Is that, I wonder about that. Is that a good thing, or does that mean everyone is in silos and you won't see more, across the continents? I guess it is good, yeah, for the more regional. It's iffy.
It is iffy. It might start in silos, but I think that eventually, as the world starts to fix itself, because as you know, there's so many broken pieces at the moment around the world, but as the world starts to fix itself, it'll start to open up again. But what I'm trying to say is that it won't be country-specific in the way that most people fear. I think it will be regional-specific.
Gotcha. All right, well, the last one is on geopolitical risk. You've already, thanks to giving us the breaking news from earlier in the morning about the ceasefire deal, which still has some issues to work out between Israel and Gaza. You've got the Russia-Ukraine war. You've got China tensions with Taiwan. You've just got things happening everywhere. Iran is also there. People are saying the U.S. might play sign. Geopolitical risk, that trend, how do you see SMEs and the rest of the globe navigating that?
I think what you'll find is there will be sluggish investment because people are watching and waiting. They want to see how all of these tensions are going to reflect in in global economies, individual economies. So I think you might see some very cautious investment activity in the year ahead. However, I also think that, like I said, the world needs to fix itself.
Right.
And I think you were just talking about, oil prices going up because of sanctions and the rest of it. So you might actually start to see a tipping point. There will be a tipping point because countries and nations need to survive.
Right.
And if nations don't survive, you start to see internal agitations. You start to see protests, and you will really start to see government pressure being placed on government by private citizens. So the hope is that people come to the negotiation table and have strong discussions. We have the G20 summit that's happening in Africa this year. We have COP that's going on in Brazil this year. I think that world leaders have several opportunities to come together, WEF as well, to discuss how they can sort of help the economies still grow in spite of everything that's going on.
Okay, so on that note, I guess my final question is, what's your outlook for 2025? How's the ETK Group looking at things? How do you see things in 2025? Are you optimistic, hopeful?
ETK Group is always hopeful. As you know, we've been supporting trade between the UK and Africa and other markets for the last 14 years. We are actually starting to nurture African businesses to do the same. So we had Africa's Next Global Innovation Challenge last year, where we picked out a wonderful company in Rwanda to start exporting what we call coffee pellets.
Oh, nice.
And so we are sort of helping them with the scientific research that backs the burning of that fuel and whether or not it's clean and the rest of it. So we want to scale that. We want to look at African innovation and see how it can play a role within Africa and at a global stage. So looking globally now, I would say that's what needs to happen.
Right.
More and more
Scaling,
SMEs need to look at the innovation within and start to scale that and sell across nations, and we'll see what happens going forward.
Hey, you are a true SME champion. Bolaji Sofoluwe, MBE, ETK Group UK, the co-founder, MD. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your outlook.
Thank you for having me.